lets me know the previous response about South Korea's Q1 2025 economic indicators. South Korea's economic indicators for Q1 2025. As of June 11, 2025, South Korea's key economic indicators for the first quarter of 2025 have already been released. The overall picture indicates a slowdown in economic growth, primarily driven by weak domestic demand and stagnant investment. The most prominent indicator is the gross domestic product (GDP) growth rate. According to the Bank of Korea, South Korea's GDP for Q1 2025 recorded a negative growth of 0.2% quarter-on-quarter. This marks the first negative growth in 3 quarters and places South Korea among the lower ranks of major OECD countries. The primary reasons for this contraction were broad declines in domestic demand-related indicators, including a 0.1% decrease in private consumption, a 3.2% decrease in construction investment, and a 2.1% decrease in facility investment. Exports also fell by 1.1%, but a sharper decline in imports meant that net exports still contributed positively to GDP growth. Regarding the Consumer Price Index (CPI), it showed a 2.2% year-on-year increase in January 2025, returning to the 2% range for the first time in 5 months. Subsequently, the CPI recorded a 1.9% year-on-year increase in May 2025, indicating that inflation has remained relatively stable, hovering around the 2% mark throughout the first half of the year. This suggests that inflationary pressures are gradually easing. The unemployment rate initially stood at 3.7% in January 2025, but showed improvement, falling to 2.7% by April 2025. Despite the broader economic slowdown, the labor market has shown some resilience. However, some research institutions predict a slight increase in the annual unemployment rate, warranting continued monitoring, overall assessment, and outlook. South Korea's economy in Q1 2025 experienced a loss of growth, momentum, and a general slowdown, influenced by a combination of factors, including high interest rates, inflationary pressures, weak domestic demand, and global economic uncertainties. The negative GDP growth, in particular, led to downward revisions of annual growth forecasts by both domestic and international institutions. Currently, the South Korean government and the Bank of Korea are closely monitoring these economic conditions. They are carefully formulating policy directions aimed at achieving both economic revitalization and price stability. The recovery of domestic demand and the trajectory of the global economy are expected to be crucial variables influencing South Korea's economic rebound in the coming quarters. Thank you for watching.